Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Getting In, a College Coach Conversation. It's a new year. We're kicking it off as we kick off every week with a great show, but it's extra special because it's the new year. I'll also put in my plug for reviewing us on Apple Podcasts. It really helps other people to find the show. So if you have time and can go in there and give us a good review, I'd appreciate it. Today's show, we're going to be talking about new year, new start on your saving for college plan. And also we're going to go into how admissions officers read files. So if you've ever wondered what the heck happens after a student presses submit, well, we're going to shed some light on that process. But before we get to that, we're going to talk about something that I know is on the minds of all parents of current college students, because I'm the parent of a current college student. Certainly on my mind. I'm pretty sure it's on everybody else's mind. And it's on the mind, or it certainly should be, of most college students. And that is, what am I doing after I graduate? And what can I be doing in college to make sure that I'm ready to get a job when I graduate? And joining me for this conversation is Michael Sherman, who happens to be the former head of global recruitment for Bank of America. So he knows a thing or two about what makes someone an attractive job applicant. And he's the current owner of Graduate to Employment, helping students find their paths to their first job and ideally their career. Welcome, Michael.
Thanks, Beth. I appreciate you having me. And I, too, am the parent of a college student, so I assure you it's on my mind as well.
Exactly. And fun fact, Michael's son and my son are actually at the same college, which is fun.
Right.
So Miami
Right.
University in Ohio. All right. Well, so we've just discussed the goal is get a job when you graduate. And with that in mind, what is the first thing you recommend students do when they arrive on campus, whether it's freshman year or if they're just starting senior year and they haven't done anything senior year, but ideally early on?
Ideally before senior year. And I think the answer to your question is a myriad of things. I think you have to, as a student, you have to position yourself to be strategic about your transition off of campus. Using companies like you guys and partners like you guys, folks that are watching us or listening to us today have been strategic on their transition into campus, making sure they selected the right school. And I think you have to use the same approach as you think about your transition off of campus. So to answer your question, I think it's multifaceted. You have to have a resume, a working resume, an up-to-date resume. Same thing with a LinkedIn profile, an up-to-date working LinkedIn profile, ensuring that it has your objective, current senior at University of Ohio, Miami University in Ohio, seeking opportunity in a marketing field within a growing company. Visiting career services to learn what schools are coming on to campus, making sure that you're up to date with Handshake. Handshake is exclusively entry-level opportunities. And I hear from a lot of my clients that are fixated maybe on LinkedIn or some other sites. Hey, I found the right job. It says entry-level. And when I go into the job description, they want 6 to 10 years of experience.
Not entry-level, in other words.
Not entry-level, but you won't find that on Handshake. It's exclusive.
Got
so
it.
I think there's a variety of things that a student needs to do to position him or herself in a way that they're ready to approach a strategic job search. But that would be my advice.
Okay. So with that in mind, you mentioned, that one quick thing on LinkedIn, searching for a job and marketing in a company. That's an example of a student who knows exactly what they want to do, or they think that they do. What can those students be doing who have a very clear target in mind when they're in college?
Right. So somebody who may be listening to this today that knows that he or she wants to, you talked about marketing, wants to work, within marketing and wants to be based in the southeast of the United States. That they're, to your point, they're very focused and very directed on that. My advice to that student would be find people that have done it. Find people that have done it and replicate what they've done. Reach out to he or she and say, hey, you graduated 2 years ago, you graduated last year. I want to follow your path. How did you land that opportunity at Coca-Cola? How did you land that marketing opportunity at Coke? How did you land that marketing opportunity at Delta? I'm just picking companies that are based in the Southeast. So, and then follow his or her advice. Ask for an introduction. Ask that person for an introduction to the recruiter at Delta, to the recruiter at Coca-Cola who helped them as they made that transition. So a warm introduction to a recruiter from a recruiter to somebody that had recently worked with that out of that school is a good strategic way that you could follow. But to answer your question, I think find people that have done it and ask them how they did it. I
Right.
want to be you in 2 years. What was your path?
Right.
Because you're doing exactly what I want to be doing 2 years from now. Can you help
So
me get
So here's a question. How do you find those people? Is it
there?
because maybe you know those people because they were in your classes, but maybe you don't, or you're doing something that's not what you studied to do, but you've now decided you want to do. So how do you find those people?
Right. I think more often than not, you probably won't know those people. Maybe you
Okay.
will, but I
Hmm.
think more often than not, you probably won't. So again, taking the step back to your first question of what you should be doing when you arrive on campus, I mentioned career services, going into career services and asking if there's an alumni directory that
Hmm.
you can access. Most schools will have an alumni directory. Search that alumni directory for folks that are working at those target companies and
Got it.
reach out to them. Conduct a LinkedIn search based on I don't know how much you know about LinkedIn, but there's 750 million with a B. There's 750 million people profiles on LinkedIn. So you've got to, yeah, it's a lot. And you've got to create a strategic approach because it's overwhelming.
Right.
So I would, if I were looking, and again, the student who knows what he or she wants to be doing, marketing in the Southeast, if I were looking, and let's just say I was, like our sons attending Miami University in Ohio, I
Right.
would be conducting a LinkedIn search of selected companies that are based in the Southeast with keywords of marketing, and I would toggle and check off Miami University. And then I would be reaching out to alumni and never send a LinkedIn invitation without a note attached to it. So,
Yes.
dear fellow alum of Miami, I hope to be an alum of Miami this
Right.
May. Coca-Cola is a company that I'm very interested in. I see that you're working in marketing there. I'd welcome an opportunity to learn from your experience. I hope you accept my invitation. I can tell you that 99 out of 100 people will accept that invitation.
Right.
And
Yes.
then following up on LinkedIn, hey, thanks for accepting my invitation. Because when you send an invitation on LinkedIn, you're limited to 300 characters. 300 characters. So it's got to be a pithy note that you
Right.
send along with that invitation. Once you're linked in with someone and connected with someone, there is no limit to what you can send to them. So following, hey, thanks for accepting my invitation. Per my note, I'm a senior at Miami. I'm really interested in Coke. I've attached my resume because now you can attach something on LinkedIn. I've
Right.
attached my resume to this. I'd really appreciate 5 minutes of your time to learn more about how your path got there.
Well, and also very important on the follow up, because I do get a lot of inquiries on LinkedIn myself, is just accepting the invitation. Then if they don't reach out to me, and then are they expecting me to reach out to them? Right.
Right,
So
exactly.
I'm not going to do that. You are asking them for a favor. So you have to be the one that follows up. Key important. And then keep the appointment that you've made, because I've actually had that happen to me a couple of times where someone makes an appointment and then
Right,
there are no shows, which is bad advice in general. So we
exactly.
talked about the people who know what they want to do. What about those students who really aren't sure? Maybe they don't even know what they're going to major in. But even if they are, they have a major and they're okay with it, they don't know what their future career is going to look like. What's your advice for those students?
Well, the first thing I would tell those students is don't panic. That would be the first thing I would tell those students is don't panic. I do in-person presentations all over the country, and the audiences are usually parents and students, sons and daughters. And I asked the parents in the room, how many of you parents envisioned what you're doing professionally today when you were the age of your son or daughter? And inevitably, the only hands that go up are doctors.
Yeah.
So I'm in that club. I graduated Emory University in 1986 as a political science and history major. And you mentioned at the top of the broadcast that I ran global hiring for Bank of America. And if you
Right.
had told me that I was going to be doing that in 1986 when I threw my cap up upon graduation, I would have told you were crazy. So
Right.
the first thing I would tell that student is don't panic. The second thing that I would tell that student is probably look at larger companies. Why do I say that? There's more opportunity in larger companies. You can find within larger organizations and larger companies, we talked about marketing before. You can find a position, regardless of the industry, you can find a position in marketing in most large companies, whether it's a manufacturing company, financial services, so on and so forth, retail. So the first thing I would say is I would target a larger company. There's going to be more diversity within that company, more specific opportunities. The second thing I would do is I would talk to people that know me, that I would say are successful. Now, let's define success. And they seem happy at what they do, and they can
Yeah.
provide financially for their family. That's an oversimplification of successful people. They
Right.
seem to enjoy what they do, and they can provide for their families. I'm talking right now about, for your friends, parents or friends of your families. I would sit down with people that know you, that are successful, and have conversations about it. Learn what they do. They know you, and ask them, where do you see me? You know
Right.
me. You've seen me grow up. You know
Hmm.
me. Where do you see me? And people inevitably are going to send you to places they can help you. Hey, Beth, have you
Correct.
thought of marketing? Well, no, I hadn't. I think you'd be great. And oh, by the way, have you looked at Coca-Cola? I'm
Right.
sending you to Coca-Cola because I can help you. People will inevitably steer you to places that they can help you. Why don't you go to Coca-Cola's website? Let me know if you see anything that looks like a fit. We'll go from there.
Right.
So have conversations with people. Talk to people. I think a lost art is too many people these days have lost the art of communication. And to me, communications means having conversations with folks. What do you do? Explain it to me. What do you see me doing? You know me. And then target larger companies.
How important is experience that you're getting while you're in college to getting that first job when you're out of college? So there are things that students can be doing now related to that, or is it not important?
Well, it is both. So I would interview you
Hmm.
very differently than I would interview your son.
Right.
Why? You've done a lot of stuff. I'd sit down, Beth, how did you do this? Walk me through your process as you did A to B. What was your methodology doing this? You've got a track record. With no disrespect to your son, with no disrespect to my son, rising college seniors haven't done a lot in
Right.
terms of tangible work, an internship experience, but in terms of tangible work experience. So I will interview he or she very differently than I will interview you or a parent.
Hmm.
And so I'm literally looking at attributes. I said communication before. So analytical skills, communication, teamwork, leadership. Those are the things that you want to articulate, because you can't articulate specific things that you've done, although you can talk about internships and so on and so forth, like I said. But again, getting back to my original point, I'm going to interview you very differently than I'm going to
Right.
interview your son. So I'm interviewing your son, or folks, that are listening to us today, on softer skills, right? Behavioral
Hmm.
based skills. And then once the candidate has established, that he or she has these attributes, if you will, then they're going to have choices. So the next thing that they should be thinking about as they interview with a company is, they've set the agenda. Hey, I'm good. I have the skills that you're looking for. They would never say this, obviously.
Right.
But the next thing they should be saying is, and here's why I want to work for your company. Okay.
Right.
I want to work in the widget space. You guys are number one in the widget space. When earnings season for widgets come out, everybody waits for you to declare how you did. And oh, by the way, your culture, your values match what I'm aligned with. Your commitment to environmental sustainability, and talking about specific things from a value and cultural standpoint that work for that company, right? And weaving it into your story.
Right.
So I want to work in the widget space. I want to work for the best. Why do I want to work for the best? Because I can learn from the best. You guys are the best. I want to be surrounded by the best so I can continue to learn. Okay, I
Right.
can
And
continue.
And that's all made much easier now by from the internet, right? Because back in the dark ages, when I was interviewing for positions at companies, it was really difficult to dig in too much and learn all that much about the college. You really had to, find people to talk to and ask about and see what you could gather. But now it's all right there on your phone, not even on your
Exactly.
computer,
And I've got to
right?
say, I have clients that are getting ready for interviews, and I say, well, who's interviewing you? Do you have the names? Yes, I do have the names. Well, let's look them up on LinkedIn.
Right.
And I have
Yep.
clients who say to me, well, they're going to see I've looked them up on LinkedIn, because you can see who sees your profile.
Right.
And I say, great. I liked when I was interviewing a young person, and he or she, I could see that John Jones has viewed your profile. John's doing his homework.
Right.
And
Exactly. It says
John,
everything, right?
exactly. It's right there. And what you want to see as a potential applicant is, I like for my clients to interview with either managers that have been at the company for a long time. Beth, how's the company changed and evolved over the time you've been there? How's the
Right.
culture changed? Are you still competing against the same folks that you were? how's this position changed? Well, Beth, if we were having this interview 10 years ago, would you be interviewing me for the same things that you're interviewing me today? Or people
Right.
that have just joined the company. Beth, I went on your LinkedIn profile and I saw that you just joined. What caused you to interrupt a great career at X company to join Y company? What was
Right.
it that enticed you to join? So really walking that into that interview, being prepared.
Yeah. And what's great about those questions that you just suggested is they're very open-ended and they're not, you aren't getting into the nitty-gritty of exactly what they do there. And you're really getting more of a feel. And that's
Right.
actually going to tell you more about what people care about at the company, and you'll find out if it resonates with you or if it doesn't. So,
Exactly.
yeah, I love
Exactly.
that.
Yep.
And you're really not recommending anything all that different from when we talk about the why this college essay that a lot of colleges require, where we're telling students you have to go, you have to do your research. What is really appealing to you about this school beyond its name brand, right? What courses do you want to take? What are you going to take advantage of when you're there? And it's really the same basic premise
It
when
is.
you're
Absolutely.
applying to college. Yeah, I mean
Absolutely.
applying
Yeah.
for a
Now, when you're
job.
looking for that right opportunity. Yep. Yep.
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly. Any final thoughts? I mean, one thing for me that I like to talk about a lot when people find out what I do, and then, in general in this country, we seem to be very, very, very obsessed with brand names. And in college, it's become a lot about selectivity. What are your thoughts about, what's more important, where a student goes to college or what they do while they're there and how they present themselves? It's a little bit of a
The,
leading question.
well, the latter.
Yeah,
The latter, because I'm hiring an individual. I'm not hiring a college moniker.
right.
Okay, I'm hiring an individual that as I said, that really hasn't done anything in terms of tangible results, but I want to invest in he or she.
Right.
So I'm hiring a person. I'm not hiring a college brand.
Yeah.
And I'm hiring somebody who's got a diverse experience, who is a good communicator, and oh, by the way, who I think really wants to join my company and is
Yeah.
not. I used to tell my teams that I ran, as you mentioned, global staffing organizations at various companies. And one thing that I told my teams wherever I work, I don't want to hire people that want to leave what they're doing. I want to hire joiners. I want people
Yeah.
to hire people that want to join my group. So, as folks are interviewing off campus, boy, I want to work in this industry. As I said, you guys are number one. I want to work for the best because I want to learn from the best, but I want to work for the best that matches what is important to me from a culture and value point of view. That's you guys.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, who doesn't want to hire that person versus the one who comes in and says, well, don't you want to hire me? I went to XYZ college, which
Exactly.
can be the
Oh,
attitude.
I've interviewed those that
I'm
went to
sure.
XYZ and they just are, well, tell me what my offer is going to be.
Exactly. Because I know I'm just that awesome. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
vibe that they give off.
Exactly. So anyway, if our listeners take away nothing, I really hope that it is that it's, about your child landing in a place where they will be successful and develop those skills, right? Those soft skills you were talking
Right.
about. Read,
Exactly
write,
right.
and think, communicate. If you can do those things, there is a lot of opportunity available to you when you
Yep.
graduate. So,
Yep. Well said. Well
all
said.
right. Thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate you joining today.
I enjoyed. Have a happy and healthy new year. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you. Same to you. All right.
Thanks.
We are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're talking about New Year's resolutions around saving for college. I know those of us who maybe haven't saved or meant to save and didn't are feeling like, oh, I didn't do it. Well, it's a new year and a new opportunity. So stick around and we'll talk about it after the break.